This is the Godzilla Kaiju team timeline.
It all starts at the Carboniferous period. The Meganeuron thrive at this point. Eventually, they grow wings and start taking flight, and become the Meganeula. The other insect kaiju thrive at this point, including Kamacuras, its arachnid predator Kumonga, and you cannot forget the divine moths, including Mothra and Batra. Meanwhile, on Exif the Exilians create dragon-like creatures known as Garus. One specimen is born with 3 heads and is named Desghidorah. The Zillions want more of these three-headed killing machines and start breeding a lot more. The experimentation with the Garu species ends up failing, and the hatchlings that do have more than 1 head usually die pretty quickly, unlike Desghidorah. So they discard the Garu experimentation and work on a new species called the Dorats. This species was in fact not made by the Zillions, but rather was found on the grounds of a planet in a nest as a cluster of eggs. Eventually, after countless experiments, it finally works. A giant creature is created, the first King Ghidorah. The Zillions would then proceed to use Ghidorah as a weapon to conquer nearby planets. However, one council of aliens named the Mysterians prepared to save both themselves and allies from the Zillions by making cyborgs. The machines they used are Mogueras 1 and 2. The war between the Mysterians and the Zillions were very fierce. However, while Moguera number 1 was fighting Ghidorah from the surface, Moguera number 2 buried through the ground and managed to kill King Ghidorah by making him fall into a chasm and burying him alive. Meanwhile, the Permian and Mesozoic eras go on, giving birth to most of the Earth Kaiju, including Godzilla, Anguirus, Rodan. A notable event that happens in the Jurassic is the Millennium ship crash landing into the ocean. Now we skip all the way until 1933, where a crew of filmmakers travel to an uncharted island and find multiple prehistoric creatures, including a giant ape. Said giant ape captures a young actress and is is carried to New York to be presented to Broadway. There, it rampages. The giant ape named King Kong by the filmmakers at Broadway is then put down by the biplanes that come to attack him. It's now 20 years since then. In 1953, at this year, an Antarctic Rausukian is waken up by atomic radiation, which sends him on a rampage in Manhattan. Eventually, the Rhedosaurus is killed by a fire at Coney Island. This one creature happens to cause a large revolution of giant monsters. The following year, a new giant reptile wandered into Tokyo. It was named Godzilla, after a mythological sea dragon from Odo Island mythology. After the first Godzilla is killed, another one appears. This Godzilla is surprisingly more passive than the first one, until he's threatened by another dinosaurian kaiju known as Anguirus. Then countless more kaiju started spreading over the globe. Eventually, a new Ghidorah flies down to Earth. Godzilla would team up with Mothra and Rodan, two other kaiju, to defeat King Ghidorah. Then many more kaiju would appear over the years, including Maguma, Hedorah, and Mechagodzilla. After preventing Batra from destroying humanity, Godzilla leaves out to shore and disappears for a while. Not much actually happens after 1975. Okay, there are some kaiju attacks every now and then, but it's pretty quiet. And the only kaiju to debut to first appear during this period is Gamera and Gyaos. Well, there may be some minor kaiju attacks every now and then, but the only kaiju to actually appear first in this period is Gamera and his archenemy Gyaos. This silence ends in 1999. This is when the aged Godzilla starts appearing once again. And this time, he's not protecting them, he's destroying them. As more kaiju begin appearing, the government agrees to make a new operation. Operation Collect All Monsters. This plan works, and almost basically every Earth kaiju known to be living at this point is captured and brought to an island. The military made sure that nothing that was in the island got out. Peace was restored once again until the invasion of the Keylocks. This all-female alien race was able to get Ghidorah and mind control him in order to make him do their bidding. The aliens sent King Ghidorah to kill off all of the kaiju on Monster Island while they tried to infiltrate the major governments of the world. The plan failed as King Ghidorah died. This was accomplished by all of the Earth Kaiju teaming up to battle him. The King-Lox barely managed to escape Earth using a flaming UFO that the humans mistake for another kaiju. After a long battle, Godzilla walks to the shore of Monsterland. And as all the other kaiju watch, the king of the monsters collapses into the sea. I forgot to mention, but a year before Monsterland, there was a giant mutated iguana that has been named French Polynesian Godzilla due to it being irradiated by the French Polynesian nuclear tests earlier in the decade. In 2002, a new Godzilla appears, being dubbed the third generation Godzilla. Along with this new Godzilla, multiple other kaiju appear, including King Ghidorah, a new King Ghidorah. Shin Godzilla makes landfall on November 3rd, 2016, and this video ends in early 2017, where the current events of the series takes place.